Appeal court.
Appeal court.
Appealing.
Appealing.
The city offers an appealing combination of sporting and cultural events.
It creates an atmosphere which visitors find so appealing. Are you sure it's okay? She said with an appealing smile. She looked appealingly at Ben.
Appeals court. Appeals court.
A ruling by a U.S. federal appeals court.
Appear.
The diamonds appeared to be genuine. The research appears to show that the drug is effective in most cases. He didn't appear to me to be a violent man.
It appears that all the files have been deleted.
There appears to be some kind of problem.
Police have found what appear to be human remains. He tried to make it appear that she had committed suicide.
It may be less useful than it first appears. During the interview, she appeared calm and relaxed.
I don't want to appear rude.
Have they gone? So it would appear.
Two faces appeared at our window.
A man suddenly appeared from behind a tree.
Small cracks appeared in the wall.
It was nearly an hour before Sweeney appeared in the pub.
The car seemed to appear from nowhere. She has already appeared in a number of films. He appeared on national television to deny the claims. He appeared on national television to deny the claims.
The story appeared in all the national newspapers.
Some of the material used has appeared in print before. The new range will be appearing in the shops in the autumn.
New courses are appearing every year.
The three men are due to appear in court tomorrow.
She appeared before Colchester magistrates, charged with attempted murder.
Sir Nicholas Gammon QC appeared on behalf of the defendant.
Appearance.
Appearance.
He was always criticizing his wife's appearance. They've changed the appearance of the whole building.
We are often attracted to somebody first by their physical appearance.
Women, in general, tend to be more concerned than men about their personal appearance.
She had an outward appearance of calm, but deep down she was really worried.
The metal posts spoiled the appearance of the garden.
A garnish helps to enhance the appearance of any dish. She's the kind of woman who takes pride in her appearance. You shouldn't judge by appearances. They work hard at school without giving the appearance of being particularly hard-working. The case had all the appearances of a straightforward murder.
The pupils looked angelic, but appearances can be deceptive.
He was, to all appearances, a respectable, successful businessman. It was his first public appearance since the election.
He made his last appearance for the club in the cup final.
The industry has changed greatly with the appearance of new technologies.
The appearance of buds on the trees.
Eileen was deep in concentration, and the sudden appearance of her daughter startled her.
She just wanted to keep up appearances for the kids.
At least Mark managed to put in an appearance at the party.
He is due to make another court appearance on Monday.
Appease.
Appease.
They attempted to appease international opposition by promising to hold talks. They attempted to appease international opposition by promising to hold talks. Chamberlain's policy of appeasement towards Hitler in the 30s.
Appellant.
Appellant.
Appellate court.
Appellate court.
Appellation.
Appellation.
Append.
Append.
The results of the client survey are appended to this document.
Appendage.
Appendage.
Appendectomy.
Appendectomy.
Appendicitis.
Appendicitis.
Appendix.
Appendix.
Christine had to go into hospital to have her appendix out.
See Appendix 2.6.
Appertain.
Appertain.
A forum was set up to deal with all issues appertaining to Everton Park.
Appetite.
Appetite.
Her husband always had a huge appetite. Symptoms include tiredness and loss of appetite. She has an amazing appetite for knowledge.
People seem to have an insatiable appetite for news of any kind.
A loss of sexual appetite.
Appetizer.
Appetizer.
Appetizing.
Appetizing.
An appetizing aroma.
The food wasn't particularly appetizing.
Applaud.
Applaud.
The audience applauded loudly. A crowd of 300 supporters warmly applauded her speech.
I applaud the decision to install more security cameras. She should be applauded for her honesty.
Applause.
Applause.
She got a round of applause when she finished. He left the stage to rapturous applause.
Apple.
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 Apple pie.
An apple tree. Roast pork and apple sauce.
Ben was always the apple of his father's eye.
Apple polisher.
Apple polisher.
Applet.
Applet.
Appliance.
Appliance.
There's plenty of space for all the usual kitchen appliances.
Applicable.
Applicable.
The offer is only applicable to bookings for double rooms.
Ms., Miss, Mrs., Mr. Please delete as applicable. Ms., Miss, Mrs., Mr. Please delete as applicable.
Applicant.
Applicant.
He was one of 30 applicants for the manager's job.
Successful applicants will be expected to travel extensively.
Application.
Application.
An application for a grant.
The university welcomes applications from overseas students. We've received hundreds of job applications each year. I filled in the application form and sent it off.
You have to submit your application before the end of the month.
I put in an application for a transfer.
He received a letter saying that his application had been rejected.
It can take a long time for your visa application to be processed.
The council is currently reviewing the way it deals with planning applications.
Thank you for your letter of application, which we received yesterday.
The applications of genetic engineering and agriculture.
The research has many practical applications.
We received training on a number of spreadsheet and database applications. We received training on a number of spreadsheet and database applications.
The application of fertilizer increased the size of the plants.
Making your new business successful requires luck, patience, and application.
Application service provider.
Application service provider.
Application software.
Application software.
Applicator.
Applicator. Applied. Applied.
Applique.
Applique.
Apply.
Apply.
She applied for a job with a local newspaper. We need to apply for planning permission to build a garage. I applied to 4 universities and was accepted by all of them.
Do the same rules apply to part-time workers?
The offer only applies to flights from London and Manchester.
New technology is being applied to almost every industrial process.
These ideas are often difficult to apply in practice. Stephen would do well if only he applied himself. Over the next months, he applied himself to improving the technique. Apply the brakes.
Apply the cream evenly over the skin. The term mat can be applied to any small rug.
Appoint.
Appoint.
Officials appointed by the government.
He's been appointed to the state Supreme Court.
A committee was appointed to consider the plans.
O'Connell was appointed as chairman. The committee appointed a day in June for celebrations.
Everyone assembled in the hall at the appointed time. A presidential appointee.
Appointment.
Appointment.
I'd like to make an appointment to see the doctor. He has an appointment with a client at 10:30.
All consultations are by appointment only.
Other changes included the appointment of a new foreign minister.
They congratulated him on his appointment as chairman.
He has taken up an appointment as professor of chemistry.
Appointment book.
Appointment book. Appointment book.
Apportion.
Apportion.
It's not easy to apportion blame when a marriage breaks up.
Court costs were equally apportioned between them.
Apposite.
Apposite.
His observations are indeed apposite to the present discussion.
Apposition.
Apposition.
Appraisal.
Appraisal.
It needed a calmer appraisal of her situation. A critical appraisal of the existing facilities.
Appraise.
Appraise.
Greenpeace has been invited to appraise the environmental costs of such an operation.
His eyes appraised her face.
Appreciable.
Appreciable.
There's no appreciable change in the patient's condition.
The two plans are not appreciably different.
Appreciate.
Appreciate.
He did not fully appreciate the significance of signing the contract.
We appreciate that caring for children is an important job.
It is difficult to appreciate how bad the situation had become.
Thanks ever so much for your help. I really appreciate it. I appreciate your concern, but honestly, I'm fine.
I'd appreciate it if you let me get on with my job.
Her abilities are not fully appreciated by her employer. I'm not an expert, but I appreciate fine works of art.
Most investments are expected to appreciate at a steady rate.
Appreciation. Appreciation.
It helps children to develop an appreciation of poetry and literature.
The chairman asked me to express our appreciation of all your hard work.
He was presented with a watch in appreciation of his long service.
Stick appreciation of the situation.
An appreciation of 50% in property values.
Appreciative.
Appreciative.
She was appreciative of Greg's concern for her health.
Apprehend.
Apprehend.
The police have failed to apprehend the culprits. They were slow to apprehend the danger.
Apprehension.
Apprehension.
A feeling of apprehension. I woke before the alarm, filled with apprehension.
Apprehension.
Apprehensive.
Apprehensive.
We'd been a little apprehensive about their visit.
I was apprehensive that something would go wrong.
Some had apprehensive looks on their faces.
What's wrong? I asked apprehensively.
The apprentice.
Apprentice.
She works in the hairdressers as an apprentice. An apprentice electrician.
He was apprenticed to a local architect.
Apprenticeship.
Apprenticeship.
He's serving an apprenticeship as a printer.
A 5-year apprenticeship.
A prize.
A prize.
The district chairman was fully apprised of all the details.
Approach.
Approach.
A new approach to teaching languages.
He decided to adopt a different approach and teach the Bible through storytelling.
This book takes an unorthodox approach to art criticism. Organizations which take a positive approach to creative thinking.
They made a direct approach to the Minister of Education. The approach of autumn.
It's a sign of the approach of middle age. Our approach frightened the birds.
Soldiers were guarding the approaches to the city. An approach road.
It was clear to land, so we made our approach.
As I approached the house, I noticed a light on upstairs.
She heard footsteps approaching.
Students should be able to approach teachers for advice.
The charity approached several stores about giving food aid.
I have already been approached by several other companies.
She was then approaching the end of her career. The time is fast approaching when we will have to make a decision.
With winter approaching, many animals are storing food. It might be possible to approach the problem in a different way.
Temperatures approaching 35 degrees Celsius.
He's never had anything approaching a normal life.
Approachable.
Approachable.
The head teacher is very approachable.
Approbation.
Approbation.
Appropriate.
Appropriate. Clothes appropriate for a job interview.
An education system which is more appropriate to the needs of the students.
It would not be appropriate for me to discuss that now.
It seemed somehow appropriate that we should begin our journey here. I didn't feel that this was an appropriate time to mention the subject of money. I thought his remark was highly appropriate given the circumstances.
The timing of the announcement was particularly appropriate.
Where appropriate, I delegate as much work as possible. Mark box 1 or 2 as appropriate. I can assure you that appropriate action will be taken. He is suspected of appropriating government funds.
Congress appropriated $5 million for International Women's Year.
Appropriately.
Appropriately.
The painters met appropriately enough in an art gallery. Appropriately dressed.
Appropriation.
Appropriation.
The appropriation of $2 million for the new hospital.
The appropriation of company property.
Approval.
Approval.
The President has already given his approval to the plan.
It is just 3 months since we received official approval to go ahead with the project. A company cannot be sold without the approval of the shareholders.
The bill will be submitted for approval by Congress. The President would appoint the Council of Ministers, subject to the approval of the National Assembly.
The IMF has given its seal of approval to the government's economic strategy.
Appointments requiring parliamentary approval.
A murmur of approval passed through the crowd. They clapped their hands in approval.
His ideas have won widespread public approval.
Does the design meet with your approval?
Children are always seeking approval from their parents.
She looked to Greg for approval.
Approve.
Approve.
The conference approved a proposal for a referendum.
Catherine's parents now approve of her marriage. I don't approve of cosmetic surgery.
Approved. Approved.
Funding is available for approved courses.
Approved school.
Approved school.
Approving. Approving.
She smiled approvingly at the child.
Approx.
Approx.
Approximate.
Approximate.
What is the approximate number of students in each class?
These percentages are only approximate.
This figure approximates to 1/4 of the UK's annual consumption.
Your story only approximates to the real facts.
Approximately.
Approximately.
The plane will be landing in approximately 20 minutes.
How much do you think it will cost, approximately?
Approximation.
Approximation.
An approximation of the total. Could you give us a rough approximation of the cost?
It was the nearest approximation to a crisis she'd ever experienced.
Appurtenance.
Appurtenance.
APR.
APR.
Après-ski. Après-ski.
Apricot.
Apricot.
April.
April.
I'm going to Cuba next April.
Our new office opened in April 2001.
The meeting will be on April 6th.
I arrived on the 6th of April.
Jim's birthday's April 6th.
April Fool.
April Fool.
April Fool's Day.
April Fool's Day.
A priori.
A priori.
A ruling made on a priori grounds.
Apron.
Apron.
You're 25 years old and you still haven't cut the apron strings. Jeff is still tied to his mother's apron strings.
Apropos.
Apropos.
He had nothing to say apropos of the latest developments.
Apropos of nothing, he suddenly asked me if I liked cats.
Apps.
Apps.
Apt.
Apt.
Some of the staff are apt to arrive late on Mondays.
Love at first sight is a very apt description of how he felt when he saw her.
The punishment should be apt for the crime.
Aptitude.
Aptitude.
He has a natural aptitude for teaching.
Aptly.
Aptly.
The aptly named Skyline restaurant provides spectacular views of the city below.
Aqualung.
Aqualung.
Aquaplane.
Aquaplane. Aquaplane.
Aquarium.
Aquarium.
Aquarius.
Aquarius.
Aquarobics. Aquarobics.
Aquatic.
Aquatic.
An aquatic plant. Aquatic sports.
Aquatics.
Aquatics.
Aquatint.
Aquatint.
Aqueduct.
Aqueduct.
Aqueous.
Aqueous.
Aquiline.
Aquiline.
R.
R.
Stellar.
Polar. A liar.
AR.
Arab.
Arab.
Arabesque.
Arabesque.
Arabian.
Arabian.
Arabic. Arabic.
Arabic numeral.
Arabic numeral.
Arable.
Arable.
Arable farming.
Arable land.
Arachnid.
Arachnid.
Arbiter.
Arbiter.
The designer has received rave reviews from such arbiters of taste as Elle magazine. The European Court of Justice will be the final arbiter in the dispute.
Arbitrage.
Arbitrage.
Arbitrary.
Arbitrary.
An arbitrary decision. The arbitrary arrests of political opponents. An arbitrarily chosen number.
Arbitrate.
Arbitrate.
A committee will arbitrate between management and unions.
The tribunal arbitrates in disputes.
Arbitration.
Arbitration.
The dispute is going to arbitration.
Both sides in the dispute have agreed to binding arbitration.
Arboreal.
Arboreal.
Arboretum.
Arboretum.
Arbor.
Arbor.
Arc.
Arc.
The arc of a rainbow.
The sun moves across the sky in an arc.
Arcade.
Arcade.
Arcade games.
Arcade game.
Arcade game.
Arcadia.
Arcadia.
Arcane.
Arcane.
The arcane language of the law.
Arch.
Arch.
2 rows of trees arched over the driveway.
The dog arched its back. I think he's in for a surprise, Ian said, in a somewhat arch tone.
Arch.
An archbishop. Our arch-enemy. The company's arch-rivals.
Archaeology.
Archaeology.
An archaeological site.
Archaic.
Archaic.
Archaic words.
Many smaller radio stations broadcast on archaic equipment. Archaic civilizations. Archaism.
Archaism.
Archangel.
Archangel.
Archbishop.
Archbishop.
Archbishopric.
Archbishopric.
Archdeacon.
Archdeacon.
Archdiocese.
Archdiocese.
Archduke.
Archduke.
Archenemy.
Archenemy.
Archaeology.
Archaeology.
Archer.
Archer.
Archery.
Archery.
Archetype.
Archetype.
France is the archetype of the centralized nation-state.
Byron was the archetypal romantic hero. Byron was the archetypal romantic hero.
Archipelago.
Archipelago.
Architect.
Architect.
Architecture.
Architecture.
The architecture of Venice. He studied architecture at university.
The architecture of DNA.
Architectural features.
Architecturally, Chengdu is quite different from most of China.
Archive.
Archive.
An archive of the writer's unpublished work. Interesting archive material.
Archival footage of the president's visit in 1969.
Electronic archiving systems.
Archivist.
Archivist.
Archway.
Archway.